Dear Mama, what does it mean to mother yourself? To give yourself the grace to grow, the permission to pause, explore your shadows, and cradle yourself in radical honesty. These are the questions I, Crystal Tennille Irby, explored after I lost the desire to continue producing Dim Black Mamas. And in this episode, I share the answers I found during this unexpected hiatus, and Nekisha Killings and Thea Monnier ride shotgun with me to share their journey as well. I'm excited to say Dim Black Mamas is back with a brave and what I believe is our best episode yet. Thank you for your patience, and we are so grateful you're still rocking with us. Now, if you like what you hear after you listen to the episode, invest in us. When you invest in Dim Black Mamas, you're investing in a platform curated by 3 Black women actively cultivating spaces rooted in healing, creativity, and liberation for Black mamas. Here are 5 ways you can invest in us and help us continue to be Black Mama Built. Number 1, don't just listen, subscribe, and leave a review. Number 2, share this episode with at least one person you feel can benefit from listening to us. Number 3, follow us and engage with us through social media comments, DM us or email us at magic@dimblackmamas.com. Number 4, get on the mothership, which is our newsletter that drops in your box twice a month. And number 5, make a contribution by becoming a patron, purchase merch, or make a one-time donation. For those links and all links mentioned in this episode, be sure to check our show notes on our website at dimblackmamas.com. That's DEM blackmamas.com. Now, let's get free, y'all, and jump into episode 40 of
Dim Black Mamas.
Hey, everyone. The mothership has landed in 2022. Welcome back to The Ride. It's Dim Black Mamas podcast. I am Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4.
And I'm Thea Monnier, mother of 3.
And I'm Nekisha Killings, also mother of 4.
So the title of this episode is We Back. You know, we get really, we just get really plain and simple with the titles, but we back. It's been a minute, and we're going to delve into why it's been a minute during our mac and cheese segment. We're going to talk about why we had an unexpected hiatus during that segment.
Is that on the outline?
Is what it's on.
I didn't see
that.
That
Is that on the outline?
On the agenda.
As y'all can see, we back, but ain't shit changed.
Okay.
So that
ain't how you have framed it.
That's not on the outline, but okay. So our topic for the mac and cheese segment is, what are you mothering? And so going into that topic, I'm going to talk about how I arrived at that question, which includes why we took an unexpected hiatus. So,
You know, Nekisha and I just need to know, how much of our business are we telling?
Well, you know, Thea, truth be told, Thea.
I just have to be careful because I'm actually prone to disclose on
That's
this
what I was going to say.
I have to be
prone.
very no, not today, bitches. Not today. Not
everything
today.
Ain't for everybody.
Everything.
I have been with Thea going to get lunch, and she began talking to the person in line behind us and told them about a court case she was going through. I was like, Thea, like, you know.
I just don't have no shame. I'm learning there's a difference though between shame and mystery. And so I think I should be a little bit more mysterious.
I have been with Thea in the deep South in a Walmart line the night before my wedding, buying stuff for the wedding, just little stuff. And the cashier's like, and I come from a small town, so we got married in a small town. The cashier's like, oh, is someone getting married? And I was like, yes. That was it. He was like, yeah, she's getting married tomorrow. What's the name of the church, girl? At such and such church. And she's having a baby. We're all excited. I was like, are you going to give her my social security number?
I just think that's like a cultural difference. I didn't know. It was my first time not being in Kansas, really. So I had to learn that kind of stuff could be held against you. There was also time in the movie theater that I met this random white lady that was from South Carolina. And I was like, Crystal, she's from South Carolina too. Not really coordinating the fact that y'all may not even like each other while in South Carolina. I didn't think about that. But, I'm learning and growing. So y'all will not be getting all my shit today is what I'm saying.
Not today.
Okay.
Not today.
So
we'll see.
That's what the mac and cheese segment is about. And I want to give a special shout out to, they're Adobe Media now, who are the new managers and editors of the podcast.
Yeah.
So our sound
we got
quality,
people now. We got people.
We need it
now.
We needed it. So our sound quality now is like Tyra weave.
It would actually be like if Tyra took out the weave, nurtured her natural hair, and revealed the essence that is Tyra Banks. I think that's because we're working with the master.
Yeah, we're working with the master.
Like we can come out from under the Tyra weave, I think, at this point in time.
So really, really excited about that and just wanted to give them a shout out, and we'll put their link in our show notes if you're interested in having someone manage your podcast. I always like to promote Black businesses owned, operated, and created by Black women. So let's get into it. So our show outline is as usual. We're going to start with our responsive reading from the book of Black Mama Magic. And then we'll jump into the church announcements, then mac and cheese, then Black Mama Say, then we out. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's get it.
The cards be knowing. Let's see what they're talking about today.
The card for this episode is My Motherhood is Rooted in Liberation.
Mm.
My motherhood is rooted in liberation. This is card 21. 2 + 1 = 3. So that's the pure number of the card. Dear Mama, the revolution begins at home. You cannot fight for the liberation in the streets and mimic white supremacy at home. Rooting your parenting in liberation means being willing to be a student. See your children as path makers and pathfinders. If you decry oppression and are committed to building the promised land by dismantling systemic and institutional oppression outside of your home, then you've got to be willing to build a promised land within your home.
Ooh.
That's a good card. I wonder who wrote that one. That's a good card.
It hit me different this time. It hit me, you know what I'm saying? It hit me different this time.
I saw that. I noticed that.
Did you notice that?
It was sitting on you a little different.
I'm just feeling a little embodied.
So that's from our Black Mama Magic card deck, which will be on sale in June during Black Mama Creative Week. And it'll be a more expensive deck. So let's move into our church announcements. I'm excited about this because usually each of us gives like 10 announcements because we weren't sure when the episode would be released because I was doing the editing and the managing. But now
we were like, let's just get this out now.
Let's just get as many.
Just run down the list of things coming.
But now that we have someone managing and editing the podcast, we don't have to record as many announcements. So, Nekisha, you want to go first?
No.
You don't want to go first.
No.
You know.
Oh, I know you got hella announcements too.
I mean,
but you only can do 2 because we recording on time now.
Ain't shit changed. She said no. Okay.
I got you. I got this. Ready?
You're not allowed to go first.
Why?
So,
is that the rules?
You know why.
You know what? We're in a water sign season. Suddenly, the water sign don't want to go. You know what I'm saying? Already, it's like the second day of the season and we already in some water shit.
You know why you can't go first, bitch.
But I only got 2 because you said to have 2.
Okay. All right, Thea, go ahead. Go ahead, Thea.
I am really trying to be obedient as I walk.
I appreciate you, Thea. I appreciate you, boo. Go ahead.
I got
Boo.
2 new announcements.
Okay.
One, bless GoDaddy. They took pity on my website. And we have revamped the entire website with GoDaddy designs. And it's amazing. So even if you visited before, please go to theamoya.com, see the new website, and sign up for the email list, because I do not want to talk about how the email list got lost last time. So we are rebuilding that email list and would love for you to come visit the website. It's gorgeous, intuitive. I love working with GoDaddy, and this is just not even a shameless plug. I like working with people who let us be authentic. And we are super authentic here. So everything about me, including Aoife, gets very much included in everything that they do. I love them, and they definitely took care of me with this website. So please go visit the website. The other thing is we've opened up our offerings to include a text community, because the world is feeling not the world. I don't want to blame the world. This country is feeling quite insane lately. And so I wanted to have a way of reaching out to people once a week and give them a little bit of joy, a little bit of hope. So we created a text community. Shout out to Sydney, our newest Marley Ayo member. The text community we call Sacred Sundays, and they're from our Hold Us Sacred line of events and line of offerings that are sort of naturally coming out of our Blood and Bahareke work. And so if you text the word sacred in all caps to 213, because we so LA, 377.
Really? Is 213 more LA than 323?
Oh yeah, 213 was before 323. It
Get
was before 310. It's the first. It was the first. It was before 310, and it was before 323. And it's definitely before 424. That's
I don't
even know that one.
I don't even know that one.
The OG that they all used to be.
I didn't know that.
Was 213.
Get out
That's
of here.
the
Okay,
OG.
I didn't know that. Okay.
We all had 213 numbers. So 213, you can text sacred in all caps to 213-377-1827. Now, this is going to age us a little bit, but do y'all remember them Choose My Adventure book when you was a kid?
I had never heard of that until a year ago when I read Patricia Smith Collins' book, Incendiary Art. And in there, she has different poems about Emmett Till. And it's Emmett Till, Choose Your Own Adventure, turn to page such and such. And I didn't get it until I talked to someone else, and they were like, yeah, you never read a Choose Your Adventure
Choose
book?
Your Own
And I was
Adventure book.
like, no.
So great. Like you could choose which thing you wanted to do and then go to that page. And depending on what you chose, something different would happen. So
my kids do have a couple of those. They do have a couple of those.
So
now that I
great.
remember. Yeah.
So great. So because of that, our nod to that is that when you text sacred, each Sunday you will get a text message, and that message will ask you this week, do you feel like an alchemist or a seeker? The alchemist, trying to transform something, trying to change something. The seeker is the joy, pleasure side, right? So depending on what you text back, and of course you can be greedy and text both, you will get a message as a seeker that will encourage your seeking that week, or as an alchemist that will encourage your work as an alchemist that week. I'm so excited about it. And please sign up and enjoy. Those are my 2.
I'm so pumped about that. Yeah, I've already signed up.
Yay. And the links for all of that will be in our show notes.
Now that I've had some time to look at my calendar and prepare, I'm ready. I got mine. This is something I'm really excited about sharing. So 2 things. You all know some of the work I do with Nikki and Nikki, Lactation Career Consultants. My good girlfriend, Nikki Hunter Greenaway, and I help folks of color find their way to the IBCLC exam and find their way into the lactation profession. 2 pieces of news there. One, we've just launched our website. Woo woo. Nikki and
congratulations.
Nikki. Thank you. Nikki and Nikki, IBCLC.org is where you can find us. You can find us to book us. You can find us to get the guidance, the resources that you need to find your way to the exam and ask us questions. And it's just wonderful to finally have a place, because folks have been sending us DMs forever. And we're like, we need to find a hub. We need to have a hub. So not as fancy as Thea's. Not a GoDaddy.
Let's say it was steps. It was steps. This is the 3rd iteration of the theamoya.com website. So, Yeah,
we're in our first iteration. We're in Tyler's early days, but it's functional. And it is a place where folks can find it. It's functional. And secondly, also related to Nikki and Nikki, is we have been having a really great time with something that we launched called Say Less, which are BIPOC co-working spaces. Silent co-working spaces. So listen, if you need accountability, if you need company to keep you on task so you do your work, this is where you need to be. It's the Blackest Most Productive Space happening. Okay. So we have these Zoom calls. The first Monday morning of the month, we have the space open for 3 hours. We have a playlist to keep you productive throughout the whole time. We're dropping words of inspiration and encouragement to you as you work. And then, so the first Monday morning and the third Monday evening, we hit those West Coasters as well. So check us out for more details, or we'll drop them in the show notes. But check us out. Say less.
I just want to say this is a prime example of why when you have an idea, you should execute it and jump on it, because God will not wait on you. He will have someone else do that.
We did not invent this. Many people are doing them. There's room. There's room for everyone.
No, but you're doing it
at the cross. There is room.
No, but I think the way that you're doing it is exactly the way that I wanted to do it. So, because there are other co-working spaces.
I wish y'all could see Nekisha's eyes. They get beady whenever things are getting shady.
It's a little dicey up in
like a Peanuts character.
I never know how to respond to that when I'm telling somebody who I have this great new thing coming out, and they're like, "I thought of that shit 10 years ago." I don't know. Like, what do I say to that?
Well,
like,
you don't say anything to it because you executed it. You don't say anything.
I get that a lot.
She said, I get that a lot.
It is us. I'm not going to say them because it's me too. It's us in our feelings because we didn't execute.
You know what I say?
What?
Well,
there's a McDonald's and a Burger King and a Carl's Jr. and a out.
We can all
and
eat.
a Shake Shack.
It is, but
it's not exactly, Crystal. It can't be exactly.
Crystal does have a history of this sort of.
Right.
It's very tender for her in particular, because I can name at least 3 incidents.
At least 3. And when God was like, listen, I couldn't wait for you.
I'm done with you.
I mean,
now have a 6-month turnaround or else.
Yeah, it's nothing for you to say. I just want to point out to the people, I think we have a habit of saying,
this goes back to the Black Mama Creative episode.
Sort of does.
Yeah. And we have a habit of telling people what God has for you is for you. And I don't fully believe that. I believe Spirit don't care how it gets here.
Right.
Spirit is like, I don't care
how you get here.
You know what?
Just get here if you can. There are hills and mountains.
I be wanting to just say, I didn't take your idea. I promise you, I didn't even know you were thinking of this. That's what I feel.
You know what somebody told me
in response.
So somebody told me that every time you have an idea, at least 6 people have it at the same time.
Ooh,
I've heard that before, and I believe that's actually true. It's really about follow through.
Right. Again, because you didn't steal their idea. God was like, I need this in the world, and I would like it to come through you, but really, I really don't care. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to get here.
I do think that there are specific things that you can create, like nobody else can create, and all of that. But I think there's a way smaller number of those things than we think. And so my conclusion is like, I think Spirit is more or less detail oriented than we think when it comes to energy and things being in the world. It's like this, I want this energy to come in the world, and how it gets here through you is up to you. But I know when I need it. And if you don't execute, then
to make sure it gets here, I gave it to 6 other people at the same time.
You know what Michael Jackson used to say? I need to write these songs, because if I don't, God will give them to Prince.
Okay.
Possible. Possible.
I do feel like this is directly related to our topic today, though.
Yeah,
I do feel like,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I would also, Mondays are tough for me. So I would like to put in for a Thursday.
They're doing Monday nights.
One morning a month, one evening.
Oh, okay. And they're all Mondays.
All Mondays.
Okay.
Check us on that third Monday evening, 8 p.m. your time. It's 11 for the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to join one.
So I think that's a great idea. Maybe Dim Like Mamas can co-sponsor 1 or 2. We just get some stuff away. Get some stuff away. Get in somehow. Get in on the idea somehow.
You know what happens when you start spilling your tea?
Yeah.
Is you get to sip other people's tea. And this is a delicious episode.
Are you enjoying this?
No, but honestly, Nekisha, I'm serious. When other people say that, the discomfort should not be yours, because that's just them, or I'm not even them. That's just us, like really being pissed off at ourselves.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay. Do people register, Nekisha, or do they just show up?
Nope. Just show up.
All right. And we'll have the link in our show notes as well. So it's now on to my announcements.
What's up, girl?
My first announcement, I'm super, super excited about. So I started a program 7 years ago called Writers Well Youth Fellowship. And this program is for Black girls, femmes in South Carolina interested in writing and performance. And when I started the program, I started it in this organization, beautiful, wonderful organization called Speaking Down Barriers. And their goal is equity for all. And they host community gatherings, at least 4 community gatherings every month, for one space for white people, one space for Black people, one space for people of color, and also do workshops on equity and dismantling systemic and institutional oppression. So great, wonderful organization. So I started the program under them. And the program has grown and expanded to the point where it needs to become its own entity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am in the process of starting a nonprofit, something I never imagined that I was doing. Like a year ago, I thought I would be walking away from this program and leaving it with Speaking Down Barriers. But after some conversations, we both decided that it needs to be its own entity because it's more than a program. And it's called Writers Well Youth Fellowship. We don't have a website right now. I'm going to be hitting up the person who built Nekisha's website, but we don't have a website right now. But please go follow us on Instagram at Writers Well Youth Fellowship. We do have a web page that you can go to learn more about us and also to donate to the nonprofit. We've gotten some wonderful support. I'm super excited about it. And over the years, we have really been able to make a huge impact in the lives of Black girl creatives who need a space for imagination free of the white gaze. So I'm excited about that. That's happening now. And also on Sunday, April 3rd at 6 p.m., I will be teaching my I Am workshop. And this workshop is for anyone who needs to write an artist statement, a personal statement, a mission and a vision for your nonprofit or organization, a cover letter. This workshop is for you. So in this workshop, I give you a tried and true way to write those things, because I think the hardest thing for us sometimes is to tell our own stories, because we spent so much of our lives absorbing what other people tell us about ourselves and allowing other people to define us. So when we have to sit down and look at a blank screen and tell someone who we are, it's very, very difficult. And so I make that process really, really easy. So I hope to see you. This is my favorite workshop, and it's virtual. And I'll have the link for you to register in the show notes. So those are my church announcements.
Those are great, Crystal.
Look at us.
Yes.
Yeah, we weren't just gone. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't just gone.
And I do want to reiterate that I am happy for you, Nekisha. I think that is a good. No, I want to reiterate that. Yeah. I really, really do, because I don't want you to feel discomfort. I really don't. I mean, it's a show on television right now. That was.
Girl, I hate that you can't watch it, because there's so many times I want to send you a seed, and I'm like,
I can't even watch it. It's too painful.
Literally my favorite thing.
It's everybody's favorite thing. It is literally.
This last episode,
I've been protesting for Crystal. I've been protesting.
I appreciate you, my sister.
Crystal would not want us to not support another Black woman. That would not be in alignment with Crystal's lifelong legacy of supporting and uplifting Black women. That's the Aries, but she's elevated. She's going to talk about that right now, isn't she, Crystal?
Are you that elevated?
Isn't she, Crystal?
Should I end my protest?
You can end a
protest, but continue to lie to me about it.
Okay, I can do that.
Because
end the protest, but lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me you haven't watched.
Just lie to me.
Don't send me nothing about it, because it's
so sweet. That's Miguel, y'all.
It still stings. It still stings. It stings deeply. Okay, so those are the church announcements. So be sure to check the show notes, because we'll have all the links for everything that we talked about in our church announcements. And if you are not subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe on whatever platform that you're listening to, and share this episode with at least one person who you feel like can benefit from the podcast. Okay, so now we are going to roll into the mac and cheese. All right.
The hefty soul serving portion.
I'm just going to sit back for the first part.
Yeah, for the first part, because we about to get some radical honesty right about Chia.
Are we?
For me. Okay. So the topic of the mac and cheese today is, what are you mothering? I came to this topic when I was reflecting on why I hit a wall when it came to DBM. And when I say hit a wall, I mean, I completely hit a wall. I was no longer inspired to do the podcast. I couldn't think of show topics. Doing work for the podcast, listening to the podcast was not bringing me joy. It wasn't feeding me. It was absolutely draining me. And I found myself trying to push through a project that I started with love. And so reflecting back on giving myself the permission to start recording the podcast and choosing myself over the fear of losing the platform and the platform just disappearing, not knowing whether or not I was ever going to come back to DBM or if DBM was going to continue, period. Because there were a couple of weeks where it was like, oh, well, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I haven't had time to edit the last episode. But then it got to a point where it was like, I actively decided not to record or do any work with DBM. And giving myself the permission to do that, reflecting back, what I realized is what I did in that moment was I mothered myself. And when I look up the definition of what it means to mother, it is relating to or characteristics of a mother, especially in being caring, protective, and kind, to bring up with care and affection, and or to give birth. And synonyms for mothering are cradle, nourish, cherish, cultivate, generate, increase, create, and feed. And so during that time, that is exactly what I was doing. I was caring for myself. I was asking myself what I really wanted, and not even related to the podcast, but just like what I really wanted and what I really needed. And I detached myself from doing and really started being, which allowed me to discover who I am now, which is what you do with a child. Like every day, you know, you consistently discover like who your children are. So during that time, I began to give birth to a lot of other things. I was a producer of the Black Breastfeeding Conference. So I produced my first virtual conference. I started grad school. We bought a new house. Writers Well expanded. So a lot of birthing came out of that decision. And the most powerful thing that came out of that decision was when I made the choice to really cradle myself in radical honesty, which led me to realize the way that I've been holding the podcast was codependent, and that my friendships with my co-host were codependent as well. And so watching them and witnessing them evolve brought a lot of fear. And I felt like I had to compete with the things that they were doing because it was codependent. So there was a fear of losing my co-hosts as friends and ultimately losing the podcast, which raised like my abandonment issues. And instead of beating myself up for that, I was really gentle and kind and nurturing. After all of that and really mothering myself through that, I began to find a new love for the podcast and decided to hold it in a completely different way that I had not held it before. I think my co-hosts were holding it that way, but I definitely wasn't holding the podcast in a new way as being the leader of the podcast, which is something that I was really uncomfortable with. But in mothering myself and getting to why I was uncomfortable with taking that role, it was just a really, really powerful experience. And so being able to reflect on that when I decided that I do want to do this podcast, and I love my podcast, and I wanted us to come back and not just tell people what we've been doing and what we've been up to, but talk to people about what we've been going through. Because looking back over what people say about the podcast, what I realized is they listen to us to get through. So I just didn't want to come back and say, well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. But I really wanted to talk about like what we've been going through. And so I reflected back on what that whole experience was like for me. And that's how I came up with the question and thinking about the quote for this episode. We have a quote for every episode. And the quote for this episode is a Toni Morrison quote because her birthday was yesterday. Yesterday. And it was, you are the best thing. And we often tell our children that, like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said, well, what if we tell ourselves that? Like, what if we say, I'm the best thing that ever happened to me? So that would require that we mother ourselves, that we give ourselves everything that we give our children, that we cradle ourselves, that we're kind and caring and protective with ourselves. And it would also require that we rethink the way that we see mothering as one source on the outside, but it can be multiple sources and it can also come from within. We can give ourselves what we need to be whole, you know, because that's a part of what mothering is. And so that's how I arrived at the question for both of my co-hosts today and myself. What are you mothering right now? Because I also think that that speaks to what you've gone through since we've been on hiatus.
I think that hearing about the way that you experienced all this was so revelatory for me, because I'd always seen you in that space, right? I'd always seen you leading boldly and confidently from the moment you stepped into the executive producer role, you know, with such confidence, and the editor role, sound editing, all the things you stepped in with such ease and with such pleasure. It seemed from this perspective that, of course, you know, the things that you're coming to now always seem to be from an outsider's perspective, from our perspective. So it was really interesting to hear you getting to that point. We're like, oh, we always thought you were there, but I think your word for this year should be expansion or growth, because I so much has happened to really open you up to new vantage points and just to sit in this experience differently. I think it's been really beautiful. Yeah, I'm proud of you. I think that was so many people live their whole lives and never make those types of, never connect those dots.
It's really interesting that you say that, because mothers often see things in children that children don't see in themselves. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I wrote down a lot of things were birthed when I decided to mother myself. It makes me think about something my daughter said to me during my recent mothering of self journey. And she said, it's impossible for something that fulfills you to not grow us. Yeah, a lot of what you said actually activated me to think about this last year and this time that we've been off differently. I think for me, it started with shadow. Like the one of the beautiful things about Ifa and like being initiated into an Orisha that is so powerful, is not known for the warm fuzzies, is more commanding, is that you have to face your fear of your own power. Well, when we think of shadow, we often think of evil,
right,
or rage, or all these different things, and that is definitely there. But what has been really beautiful in the last year to unpeel beneath, yes, shadow accesses and gives you permission to access rage and desire and unapologetic appetite for a lot of things, that beneath there is like a level of softness that we do not associate with shadow. We associate that with light and being good and being nice and being kind and being sweet. And actually, I've found the softest version of myself in the rawest, most primal version of myself. It is a self-mothering. And that's what someone asked me that in a different way. And I said, I was asked, do I want to have more children? And why I wouldn't want to have more children. And I said, I sat with it because there's this very romantic part of having children that is really beautiful and really, but then I thought about it. And then I thought about all the things we do for those children. And I realized that I've done that for not just my children, for my company, for anybody who's been a client of mine, anybody I've been a coworker of, a friend of. The one person in my life I've never mothered is myself. And so this time is about me mothering me. I am my own child. And the child that I had most neglected is the identified patient, is the black sheep of my inner family, which is my shadow, the part of me that has unapologetic appetites and desires. And so this time for me has been answering and challenging the boundaries of what it means to be Black, wild, and loved. And
can you run that back? Can you run that back to be what?
So I'm actually working on a writing or a creative, I don't know what it's turning into, a book, a documentary, something, but a project to be Black, wild, and loved. And I came to a point where I was like, oh, I realized that the reason I never allowed myself to be wild is because I had positioned it as a choice between being wild and being loved. But I didn't do that on my own. Like I had social cues that told me you can choose to be Black and wild, or you can choose to be Black and loved, but you can't have all three. And then like once you've moved your mind into the all and you've accepted that you're a spiritual being having a human experience, limitations don't make any sense whatsoever to you anymore. Like, why would I come to this planet to have these experiences to say, oh no, but not those? It doesn't make sense anymore. And so then you have to sit with, well, why are some off limits and some are not? And like, you know, there's a whole nother level of questioning that happens there. And so the fact that I felt I had to choose between being Black and wild and being Black and love it's a problem. And I am currently the experiment for myself on how to challenge that. And it is scary for a Black body. It is scary for a Black woman body to risk not being loved for being your fullest self, for following your natural appetites and trusting them. But it is also exciting and an adventure and exhilarating and a roller coaster. So, I mean, a lot of what you were saying, Crystal, I really resonated with the self-mothering, particularly, like I said, the part of my inner self that I've never allowed the world to have access to, or myself to.
That part about the shadow side.
I named mine Sunny because I don't like referring to her as Shadow anymore, but her name is Sunny. But yeah, even that, yeah.
I think our mothers see the shadow side in us. And for whatever reason, they encourage us to suppress it. For Black mothers, a lot of times out of protection. But diving into that shadow, I mean, I know a lot of people have issues with the film Malcolm and Marie. I know folks had issues.
I loved it.
But when I watched that film,
complicated,
I was like, oh, I'm codependent. That is what is going on. And that was a journey into my shadow side. That was a journey into, well, why do you create these partnerships with Black women? Why do you create these projects with Black women? What is your fear of not doing it with Black women? What is your fear of doing it alone? And what stories have you been told about that? So you suppress it.
And the shadow is rich.
It is.
It's rich because it's really about being afraid of your power.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's the shadow it's probably your most powerful version of yourself, but it's the part that you're the most afraid of because you feel like it can cause the most damage. So it's like this interesting relationship where you really can't be your full self unless you go there and face your full power. But also there's that piece that you tease out about nature, that nature is also creative and destructive. It's always expanding and contract. If you don't allow yourself that duality, which when I look over my life, I see nothing but dualities. Always said that about myself. But my struggle, my suffering has always come from feeling like I had to choose because that wasn't a real thing. It was a learned thing, you know.
You taught me, though, that two realities can exist and I don't have to choose. I can live in both spaces at the same time.
Two things can be true.
And that I promise you taught me that in my late 30s. You know what I mean? So you live that long thinking you cannot be all the things. You cannot take up all the spaces.
I think whenever you're given these choices, you have to say, well, why do I have to choose? That to me is a wealth mindset as well. It's like, oh no, I could actually have all if I wanted.
And it's someone making me choose out of control.
Right. So who's saying? Who's saying? There's so much there.
Which means that within the choice, I lose my power.
If somebody else, it means the choice is not coming from me.
Right.
It's someone else presenting me with that. And my first question is that true? But here's the thing. I don't think it's ever true that you have to choose. You can, and you can commit to a certain path, but you can also change your mind, and you can also commit to multiple paths. I think the other deep fear of the shadow is not just your power, but it's that you will be outside of the norm.
Yeah.
We've all been taught to conform to this certain area of living.
Yeah.
That you will be outside of that, and therefore you be abnormal. And then, their fear of being
because abnormal and outside of the norm equals alone.
Equals alone.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're taught.
There we go.
That's
to be black,
taught.
wild, and loved. Can I be black, wild, and loved, or am I going to be excommunicated and unloved? Mm-hmm. That's the exploration.
What are you mothering?
I'm mothering that shadow self, Sunny. I spent a lot of time with her, and I'm mothering my relationship with water deeply, which was also in that shadow, because that's the lower chakras, that's the body. So I'm mothering my body differently this year. Not from a health perspective per se, but from a desire to fully occupy it, like to be present in every cell of my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keish, what are you mothering?
That's heavy. Me?
Yeah. What are you mothering?
Me.
You're mothering you.
We're all I think the
answer
is going to be the same for all of us.
Yeah. My work is what came up first for me, because it's still a baby, still in its infancy stage. At least the Melanated Memory Atlas is. So there's all the stresses and anxiety and all the stuff that comes with having a newborn, right? You're making sure you're keeping it alive and it has the nutrients that it needs to thrive and all that. But 6 months in, I'm ready to allow the baby to thrive. And it's all the things I worried about, all the customers and growth and expansion I worried about in the beginning is just coming. It's just coming with ease, and I'm not having to go and beg for it and work for it. And so I feel comfortable now shifting my attention back to me to some degree and taking care of me. Very, very wise women in my life talked me through some stuff a couple of weeks ago and reminded me of the importance of affirming myself and reminding myself what's true about me.
What's true
about me, because Lord, listen, the world will tell you some shit.
Yes, they will. They will. And you will be miserable.
People will put their shit on you. You will be the reason for all the things that are wrong. And you have to be able to stand really firmly in what is true, what you know to be true about you, including your flaws, including the spaces where you have to grow. But the good and the righteousness that you carry. And I'm nurturing that right now as a daughter and as a mother. My mom is visiting right now. And whenever she comes, it reminds me of some heavy lessons that I learned from her over the course of my life, things I learned that I want to be and don't want to be like. And it makes me sit in a place of reflection and making sure that I'm mothering my children with intention, and that my motherhood journey is one that I will look back on with joy and pride. So I'm mothering many parts of me. Yeah.
It's the year of mothering self, apparently.
So I am mothering two things right now. The first is I'm mothering my intuitive gift. And that is about trusting that I know what I know. And I got the vision and message that I got. I am an intuitive. Now I'm mothering that. I'm nurturing that. I used to be really afraid of it. And I would only tell certain people certain stuff. Like I was really, really, really afraid of it. And now I'm embracing it and nurturing it and mothering it, because that is the source of my creativity. For sure. My intuitive gift is the source of my creativity. And I'm also mothering my heart. And it's so funny. At the beginning of the year, I was like, what am I going to focus on this year? And I was like, I'm going to focus on my heart. And about 2 weeks ago, I thought I was having a heart attack, like literally rushed to the hospital. They did what is it they do to see if you have a heart attack? All the stuff. EKG, lights on in the EMS, go in, 10-person team when I'm in the heart section of the ER. And what they found out is that I had pericarditis, which is inflammation around the heart due to having COVID last year. And what pericarditis has forced me to do is to listen to my heart. Because if I'm doing too much, if I'm too stressed, my heart will literally tighten up. it was a reflection of my intuition. I think also that happened to me physically. And at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm going to focus on my heart this year. And what that means is, I come from a home that was like focused on what I'm saying and not how I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Being in theater, you don't focus on how director is talking to you. You got to have thick skin. Like you're taught all of these things that make you negate your heart. And so you stop feeling from the neck down. Right. And I had done that for a long time. Like I could take people talking to me a certain way. And because I was like, well, I'm just focused on what they're telling me, but what I realized is that has done some heart damage. And I have a tender heart, and you can speak to me in truth and in love. Like sometimes people think that the truth has to be hard. And it's like, no, you can tell people the truth in love and with compassion. And so I've had, to really think about the way that I allow people to talk to me and really think about what does it mean to have thick skin? What does it mean to be tough? And that means I really have to be in touch with my heart at all times
and listening
and listening to it. You know what I mean? And one of the things that was happening was I was feeling like tightness in my heart every now and then. It was like,
but you were pushing through it.
I was pushing through it.
And
so
ignoring
I
it.
resonate. I resonate with that because one of the things that Sunny and the water have shown me is that I just abandoned my feminine. And I not only did I abandon my feminine, but I stopped expecting nurturing from the masculine. So I really put myself into a very tight heart.
Just wait. Pause for the cause. We had one in a long time, but pause for the cause.
Yes, Lord. Yeah.
I stopped nurturing my feminine and stopped expecting nurturing from the masculine. You can just leave a comment on Instagram if you've been there. You can just leave a comment.
I didn't realize it that often what we think we need to do to survive is harden when the thing that we need to do to survive is to soften. And so
you got pause for the cause 2 times in a row, sis.
Yes.
2 times in a row.
Well, I came back ready.
Okay. Often we think what we need to do to survive is harden. And what we really need to do is soften, y'all. It is Pisces season.
It is Pisces season. And I got a Pisces moon. I got a Pisces moon. We just did the Marie Kondo cleanse of the house, the life-changing magic of tidying up. And I cried when I looked at my clothing because when I first got married, I had just got out of another relationship a few years before. And when I had my place for myself, I was in my flow, and you could see it in my clothes. My clothes were flowy. My clothes were flowy. My clothes were very feminine.
Even the energy of that,
the house, you could feel you could feel a flow,
the breeze.
Constantly.
Yep.
It was called the sanctuary.
It was called the sanctuary, and I looked at the clothing, and everything was so utilitarian. It was to do work. It was to do a thing, even down to the pockets, right? And I love pockets, but why were the pockets there? It was there so that I could just carry more things, right? It was all the books were about being able to intellectually explain who I am, as opposed to just this is who I am, right? And so there's definitely been that, like what you're saying, Crystal, was like that pushing through is what I identified with. And that meant being tough, being hard, having, things to be useful, functional. And now it's like I'm in a space where it's like, it's about the beauty. It's about the flow. And I'm having to sit in the discomfort of allowing myself to be nurtured by the masculine when I've only associated it with taking things from me or demanding actually things of me. And so when the masculine offers me something, it brings up distrust. And instead of hardening around that distrust, I'm learning to soften into it and allow or ask for what I really need. And it's such an intricate process that during this time I had to engage in breathwork strategy. And I'm currently working with someone on a nervous system reset because I didn't realize how much my nervous system was hardwired to harden as opposed to soften. So this week it was Valentine's Day, my wedding anniversary, and the full moon in Leo during Aquarius. And I'm an Aquarius rising. I'm a Leo sun with an Aquarius rising. So I was like fucked up. And my coach has taught me, you know, there's safety, activated, and overwhelmed. I've judged myself when I went into activated or overwhelmed. I felt like I should always be calm. And that's what I've presented to my family and to people around me. And she said, no, a healthy nervous system should go through all three. So when I told her I was activated during our last session, she said, okay, that's good. It's okay. You know, we're not judging it. We're just acknowledging it. And then by the full moon, where I also started my moon, I was in full overwhelmed, but I embraced it. And I was like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. Okay. That means I have to really submit to doing absolutely nothing, but being cared for and cared on for however long it takes for this to pass. You don't realize how coded it has become in your DNA to harden until you really start doing the work. It's like popping little tiny bubbles at a time. But I'm very grateful for that. And like I said, I think, you know, Crystal, that's something that we're going to have in common this year is unlearning that. Mm-hmm.
When we did the 7-day juice thing with George in our Patreon, one of the questions was, well, when do you reach for food? I said, when I'm tired, I reach for food. And he said, your body's asking for rest. And so I have trained my nervous system to push through to the point when I came home from the hospital and I had to completely rest. And when I say completely rest, it's like going up and down the steps was a task. It felt uncomfortable in my body. Like it was like I got to just sit here and be still, you know, because my nervous system had been trained to do something else. And when I felt that I needed to rest, my nervous system was like, well, get some food and then you can keep going because that'll keep your mind activated because you'll be chewing on something, you know? So, yeah. So we would like to know what you all are mothering and what does it mean for you to mother yourself? What does that look like? Send us an email. You can leave us a comment on SoundCloud or leave us a comment on IG or Facebook or DM us and let us know what you're mothering and what does mothering yourself look like.
Lord, I missed this. I could tell you that already.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're coming in it. It feels different in it even.
Yeah,
good.
It does. It does. It does.
It's good energy.
It felt different
today.
Preparing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now it's time for one of our favorite segments, Black Mama Say, where we put our own spin on phrases that Black mamas have been saying from the beginning of Black mamahood. Today, we're doing something a little differently. As we always do at the top of the year, we are sharing our word for the year, our word that sets our intention for the year. Who's up first?
And per usual, I am ready. So I will go first. You know what hasn't changed over the years, y'all, listeners?
Shade. Is this like deadlines?
If you haven't noticed, my word is fun.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'm a deep bitch. You are. Pisces moon, you know what I'm saying? I go hard. Too hard. I can't remember the last time I dedicated time to just pure fun. I'm saying yes to everything, and I only want to enjoy them. So this year, I plan on doing a lot of things I normally do. I've been cutting up so bad that Ebony, Janice, and Crystal Irby are trying to figure out a custody agreement for me because they don't know who's going to claim me this year. But it might be some twerk emojis. You know, you might see a little something different on IG. It may not be all deep, but I'm so excited to give myself the year of fun. And in order to do that, I had to release worry. So I think I'm going to add to this assignment. Not only do you have to say your word, but you have to say what you're going to release in order for that to happen. Mine is worry.
You go ahead.
I did that. You go ahead. I did that right there.
I'm not ready.
Off the top of the dome, we're going to find out who the real MCs are real quick. Real quick. Who can do it off the top of the dome? Who writing their shit ahead of time?
You go ahead, Keish.
All right. I told you all, full disclosure, at the beginning of the call, I hadn't quite been able to land on a word for the year. And I'm still a little unsure, which doesn't make sense. I know, because we're well into February, damn near March. But
the new year don't start to February. I don't know why people be putting that on January. The new year start February 1st. For Black people, that's the Black New Year. Well, go ahead.
What's the Black New Year?
February 1st. It's also the Lunar New Year. We just going by concepts that white people told us, but that ain't the real New Year.
Well, February 1st is past, so you should still have your word.
Well, Nekisha, I can't help you with that.
Jeez.
We can help you out,
Nekisha. For a
Nekisha.
moment.
Nekisha, we can help you out. Boo. We can help you out right quick. Okay, go ahead. We can help you out right quick. Go ahead.
You in here showing out today.
I told you it's a fun year for me.
Is that fun? Was that fun for you?
It's hilarious.
Okay. All right. So the word I'm landing on right now is steady. I want steady forward movement. I had onward in the past. It's kind of that same vein. And I don't love that word, but it's the one that's resonating in the moment. So steady.
Consistent.
What about velocity?
Oh, see, the Aries got to turn it up a little too much. You see that? I was trying to meet you where you were. Here she go, adding her own stank to it.
Velocity. I didn't say I want to go with the quickness. I didn't say I want to go with great force. I just want to be steady forward.
Why wouldn't you want to go with great force?
And I'm good going with ease. I'm good.
So you want to do consistency?
No.
Okay.
Steady. She gonna stick with steady.
I'm steady for now. For now, we're gonna see. But I definitely am letting go of worry as well. I'm having to take that.
That bitch gotta go.
That she get on my damn nerves.
That bitch is done.
Okay, I have some words here. Here we go. Calm, constant, dependable, intense, reliable, resolute. What about persistent, regular, stable, unbroken?
Stable.
Stability.
Constant, resolute.
I'll take resolute. I'll take resolute. I'll take it.
Take resolute. Okay, so Nekisha's resolute.
Letting go of worry.
Nekisha,
I'm
letting
resolute
go of
up in
worry.
this.
Thea is fun and letting go of worry. My word was going to be being. Oh. And by that, I meant I want to embody the energy that I want to experience. But during this recording, I think expansion fits.
Yeah.
Because everything in my life is expanding. So I think expansion fits.
What are you getting rid of?
What am I releasing? I am releasing self-doubt.
There we go. That bitch is just like worry. She got to go. She out.
Yeah.
She out. Kick to the curb.
So
there we go.
So
that's good. Fun, resolute, and expand.
I like how y'all, rose to the occasion when I put that little challenge out there.
We do that under pressure.
Okay. Are we closing it out?
Yes, I guess that's me.
Here I go.
Up first is Nekisha. What I don't understand is it's the same every time. And everybody has the handout. Everybody has the handout.
Is it a handout?
Those handouts just like I treat.
Is it a handout? I ain't heard nobody say the word handout.
Study materials back.
You know what? Choose your own adventure. I didn't throw you no shade on that. So
you should have known about that. That said more about you than me.
No, but I'm saying in terms of how old it is.
Fine. Handout
I didn't throw no shade.
I ain't been in school in a minute. That's when you hear the word handout.
Well, it's the handout.
It's a handout.
Electronic handout. I just want to work. There is some new language. So just read.
In here? Okay, let's read a part. Okay, go ahead. I'm focused.
I was just going to wing it. I guess I should.
Don't wing it, bitch. When Thea has to read because it's like she's at an audition and she's like trying to read it like she's
terrible.
Natural. Okay.
I own the fact that I'm terrible at it.
No, just read what's on the page. Just read what's on the page. It's okay. Take a deep breath.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dim Black Mamas Podcast. And if you don't want to miss a minute of the magic and to stay update with everything we're conjuring, sign up for our newsletter, The Mothership, which drops in your box twice a month.
And don't forget to check out our website, www.dimblackmamas.com. You can also send us your thoughts about the show, show us some love, and ask us some questions at magic@dimblackmamas.com.
Be sure to listen and subscribe to our sister podcast, Shaping the Shift. And if you're a Black mom in need of love and support, join the new app for Black moms, Meet Akina. Founded by Black mom and entrepreneur Lee Butler, Meet Akina is the new social media app for Black mamas, Black bonus mamas, and aunties. Finally, if you're a Black podcaster, get your tickets for Black Pod Festival hosted by Black Pod Collective, going down in the ATL May 28th through the 29th. and check out our show notes for all the links regarding everything that we mentioned in the show. And in closing, we wish you
fun.
Resolute.
No. We gotta work up.
Resolute.
We said consistency. What did you not like about consistency? Okay, we're gonna figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure that out. Crystal, do yours. Okay. Girl, rinse that out.
That's terrible. That's horrible.
You tried to bring something to it too, bitch. That was amazing. You're like, resolute.
And expansion. We out, Black people, Black mamas. We out. All right.
Keep us on your prayer list.
Send us some other words for steady, please.
That ain't it. That ain't it.